Hey everyone! We are working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content and it is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button right now as we proceed. Subscribe to this channel right now because the Blue Jays storylines coming out of Dunedin this spring are stacking up faster than anyone can process them, and the two we are diving into today are the ones that the mainstream conversation is somehow managing to undervalue despite the fact that both of them carry enormous implications for what this roster looks like and what it is capable of when the regular season begins. We have been talking about the rotation, the Scherzer pursuit, the Eric Lauer frustration, the Garcia injury, and all of the drama that has surrounded the pitching staff all off-season and into the opening days of camp. All of that matters. All of that is real. But today we are talking about a left-handed flamethrower who is finally, genuinely, completely healthy after a lost season that broke the hearts of everyone who watched him dominate before the injury took over, and a transformed, rebuilt, remade version of a power hitter who spent last year completely out of professional baseball and came back to the first spring training game he entered and immediately launched a moonshot at 104.5 miles per hour exit velocity. Ricky Tiedemann is ready. Eloy Jimenez is back. And the Blue Jays suddenly have two compelling answers to questions they did not know they were being asked. Let us start with Eloy Jimenez, because the performance he put up in yesterday's spring training game deserves significantly more attention than it has been getting, and the physical transformation that is being reported out of camp is the kind of story that reframes every expectation you had coming in. Jimenez did not play in the major leagues in 2024. His advanced analytics over the past couple of seasons have not been painting an exciting picture. There are former Chicago White Sox observers on social media already warning Blue Jays fans not to fall for it, citing concerns about work ethic and the pattern of tantalizing talent that never quite delivered the sustained performance the raw ability always seemed to promise. We hear them. We are noting their concerns. And we are also looking at the box score from yesterday's spring training game, which shows 2 for 3 with a home run and a double, exit velocities of nearly 100 miles per hour on the first ball and 104.5 miles per hour on the second, and a body that Thomas Hall and multiple reporters in camp are describing as completely transformed, significantly leaner, visibly more athletic, and moving in ways that suggest whatever work Jimenez did on himself during his time away from professional baseball was the kind of serious, committed physical overhaul that changes career trajectories rather than simply generating flattering spring training numbers that disappear by Memorial Day. The specific role being discussed for Jimenez is exactly the role that has been a genuine organizational need all off-season and that various trade and signing conversations have been orbiting without resolution. The lefty masher off the bench who can be deployed in platoon situations against right-handed pitching and make opposing managers genuinely uncomfortable with lineup construction decisions in the late innings. This channel has spent weeks discussing the need for exactly this player. We talked about Randal Grichuk. We talked about Rhys Hoskins, who ultimately signed with Cleveland. We talked about other potential acquisitions and the ways the Blue Jays might address a gap in the roster that the Jesus Sanchez acquisition, as excellent as that move has been, does not fully close on its own. And the entire time, Eloy Jimenez has been in camp, working quietly, transforming his body, and then walking to the plate in the first meaningful opportunity he has had to showcase himself and responding with a 104-mile-per-hour double and a moonshot home run. The answer to the lefty masher question might have been in the organization the entire time, and it took one spring training at-bat to make that possibility impossible to ignore. The World Baseball Classic beginning in early March creates a specific and important runway for Jimenez to continue building his case, because the departure of players representing other nations leaves a camp environment where anyone remaining gets significantly more repetitions, more at-bats, and more visibility than they would in a fully populated spring training roster situation. If Jimenez performs during the Classic and performs consistently through March, the argument for including him in a meaningful role on the opening day roster, whether as the designated left-handed bat against right-handed pitching or in some other creative deployment that John Schneider dreams up, becomes increasingly compelling and increasingly difficult to dismiss with concerns about what he did or did not do in Chicago several years ago. Players change. Bodies change. Circumstances change. and 104.5 miles per hour exit velocity in the first spring training game of the year is not a small data point. Now let us talk about Ricky Tiedemann, because the update on his health and readiness is genuinely better than most people in the Blue Jays fanbase have allowed themselves to believe coming into this spring. And the implications of a fully healthy Tiedemann available for meaningful contribution at some point in the 2026 season are significant enough to change the entire calculus of how this pitching staff gets constructed and deployed. The reports coming out of camp are not hedged or cautiously optimistic in the way that injury return timelines often are. He is described as fully healthy. He has already thrown 2 simulated innings against a lineup that included George Springer, Kazuma Okamoto, Eloy Jimenez, and Davis Schneider, which is not a group of hitters you expose a pitcher to unless you believe that pitcher is ready to be tested under real competitive conditions. He is throwing. He is facing hitters. He is generating the kind of feedback from live at-bats that tells a pitcher where his stuff actually is versus where he thinks it is. And the reports suggest what he is finding is encouraging. The quote from Ben Simon carries particular weight in this context. He said that for Tiedemann it is about staying healthy, and that if he stays healthy he will find a way onto this roster because he is simply too talented. That kind of unequivocal organizational belief in a player's ability does not get expressed publicly unless it is genuinely held internally. The Blue Jays believe in Ricky Tiedemann. They believed in him before the Tommy John surgery cost him most of last season. They believed in him through the rehabilitation process. And they believe in him now as he throws live innings against the best hitters in their camp and demonstrates that the velocity, the movement, and the competitor's mentality that made him one of the most exciting pitching prospects in all of baseball are still fully intact on the other side of the surgery and the recovery. The specific conversation around Tiedemann's role is fascinating and multilayered in a way that reflects genuine organizational flexibility and creativity. John Schneider has made clear that the approach for players returning from significant arm procedures in the spring is to build up as much length and as many innings as possible, keeping options open for how the role eventually settles during the regular season. Tiedemann himself has expressed openness to whatever the team needs, starting, relieving, high-leverage bullpen work, whatever creates the best path for his individual development while simultaneously making the biggest positive impact on the roster's ability to win baseball games. The whisper that has been circulating in the background of all the Scherzer and Lauer conversations is actually extraordinarily compelling when you spell it out clearly. If Tiedemann can serve as a dominant left-handed reliever in 2026, throwing 98, 99, potentially touching 100 miles per hour from the left side with the kind of devastating secondary pitches that made him a consensus top prospect across the industry, the Blue Jays have a weapon in their bullpen that goes beyond simply filling the gap left by Yimi Garcia's delayed return. They have a legitimate difference maker. And the 2027 path toward him transitioning into a full-time starting role becomes an organizational plan rather than a wishful projection. The emotional dimension of the Tiedemann story should not be understated or dismissed as secondary to the analytical dimensions, because it is genuinely affecting and it speaks to why so many Blue Jays fans have invested in this young pitcher's journey with an enthusiasm that goes beyond what the statistics alone can justify. Watching someone with obvious, undeniable, once-in-a-generation pitching talent lose a significant portion of his development time to an injury that required surgery and a full rehabilitation process is genuinely difficult. The Tommy John recovery is not just physically demanding. It is psychologically grueling in ways that test a player's identity and their relationship with the sport they have dedicated their life to. The fact that Tiedemann has come through it talking about excitement, about being fired up to face hitters again, about the specific mechanical understanding of his own arm that the injury and recovery process has given him, that is the response of a player who has not been broken by what happened but has been shaped and deepened by it in ways that might ultimately make him a more complete and resilient pitcher than he would have been without going through the experience. The broader spring training picture that is assembling around these two stories is one of exciting, unexpected possibility. Jose Berrios taking the mound against the Mets in his first game action since being placed on the injured list in September, a storyline freighted with all the complexity of everything that happened in those final months of last season, gives the rotation evaluation a real and meaningful early data point. Davis Schneider continuing to fight for a roster spot and a defined role. Dalton Varsho reminding everyone what he looks like when he is healthy and locked in. Kazuma Okamoto integrating seamlessly with the everyday regulars. The pitching staff getting tested one spring training game at a time. All of it happening simultaneously, all of it generating information that will shape the roster that takes the field on opening day. But today, right now, in the specific conversation of what is most encouraging and most underappreciated coming out of Dunedin, Ricky Tiedemann being fully healthy and Eloy Jimenez launching moonshots at 104 miles per hour are the two stories that Blue Jays fans need to be talking about most. The Scherzer deal will either happen or it will not. The Lauer situation will resolve itself one way or another. But a healthy Tiedemann and a transformed, motivated, moonshot-hitting Eloy Jimenez are developments that cost this organization nothing and could contribute everything. Now we need to hear from you. How excited are you about Ricky Tiedemann's health update heading into this spring? Do you believe Eloy Jimenez is for real, or are you one of the skeptics waiting for the production to disappear? And which of these two stories do you think has the bigger impact on the Blue Jays championship window in 2026? Drop every thought you have in the comments section right now, because these conversations are exactly what spring training is designed to produce. Smash that like button, share this video with every Blue Jays fan you know, and subscribe to this channel so you do not miss a single spring training update as the roster continues to take shape. Baseball is back in the